She had $1 million business, but she had to walk away. Dr. Natalie Green is here to tell you her story as an expert who helped so many walk through trauma and then experienced trauma herself. We wouldn't be here without our sponsor, Black Oswald Coffee Company, that is not only delicious coffee, but also benefits nonprofit organizations helping those undergoing mental health journeys. So, Dr. Natalie Green, I want you to introduce yourself to everyone. You're in Australia. I'm in the United States, and tell us who you are and what brought you to doing what you do.
Thank you so much, Marta, for having me on here. I'm so excited to be able to be here and share my story for your listeners, and I hope that it's helpful in some way. So I'm Dr. Nat Green. I have a background in clinical and health psychology, but honestly, that part of me feels like a lifetime ago. I've been working in the field, specializing in trauma for a very long time, 35 years, feeling old now, and and specialized in trauma, loved working, helping people work through what had happened and move forward with their life. And as you said, I then did experience my own significant trauma, and I'm sure there's lots of learnings and life lessons in that. That sometimes we have to face things that teach us at a deeper soul level. So I did experience my own level of trauma and then had to work through that as best I could. And I will admit that I got very frustrated with how long it was taking to use the methods of recovery that I'd been taught were the best way to do it. And so then I went down the path of, where I am now, to develop my own method and test it on myself and many others. And here I am today, now coaching and doing trauma breakthroughs for people using coaching, and mainly in the field of neuro-linguistic programming and nervous system regulation. So, that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Sounds like you have a lot of really valuable gifts that you offer to clients. And I can relate to some of your story, but I want everybody to know. So you had $1 million successful, thriving therapy practice, and you had to walk away from it. What happened?
Yeah, so I used to play volleyball at a fairly elite level. And with that, of course, comes numerous injuries. So many years before, I had a significant ankle injury that wasn't treated correctly, and I just pushed through, as you do. You just keep going and keep going, which seems to be my pattern, and I'll explain that a bit more later. And I didn't have surgery. It wasn't recommended, so I just kept going. And 25 years later, I remember going to see my kids at a school function, and I stepped over this little fence and I heard this snap. I thought, oh, that's not okay. Had to go and see a specialist about my ankle, and he said, Nat, it's time. You've ignored this for 25 years.
Right.
The ankle was in such a bad way. It had no ligaments left. It was really bad. And he said, this is probably the
That
worst
sounds
thing.
really painful. You haven't even mentioned the pain. Was that not painful?
I suppose I got used to it. So
Oh
yes,
my
I
gosh.
chronic pain for so long now. It's like, whatever. So I
Yeah.
thought, yep, okay. And I remember questioning this. He was a lovely doctor. I remember saying, do you know what you're doing? Are you sure? And I had a million questions to go through on my checklist to make sure he was competent. And he said, yes, I've done this before with this elite Australian Wallaby football player. I thought, okay, yep, you've convinced me. So we went down that path, and long story short, I had the ankle surgery. It was always going to be major reconstruction. They did a full calcaneal osteotomy, so they sawed through the bone in my heel, repinned it, did a whole reconstruction with pins and plates and everything. And things were going really well until I caught golden staph, got an infection, became sepsis, So a systemic infection, and I almost died. So that wasn't anything that I'd planned for. So then there were 8 months of in and out of hospital for months at a time, 4 ankle surgeries, and severe neuropathic pain. So that was when the pain was sort of like, this doesn't feel okay. So nerve pain. And I remember asking the doctor, in all seriousness, could he cut my leg off? And he was like, no. I'm like, you don't understand. You've got no idea what this is like. And he refused. Sometimes I honestly still think maybe he could have, because then I would be running by now. Now I can still barely walk some days. So that was very confronting, and being myself, I just kept pushing through. And so there was the physical recovery, the almost dying, and then the medical mishaps of leaving guide wires in PICC lines that almost pierced through my heart, that went too close, that caused heart issues, all sorts of things.
Wow. And what's going on with your business in the meantime?
So I remember sitting in my bed with my laptop working, not ideal, just pushing through. And I had 25 staff. They were amazing, amazing people. And I kept checking in with them, helping do that, and just pushed through and kept doing as much as I could, because I thought that I was indispensable. And obviously found that I'm not, and just kept managing as best I could. But I know I wasn't showing up as myself and wasn't able to be there for them. And eventually, then I got referred to see someone to help with the consequences, and saw a professional who then, unfortunately, I was assaulted by. I won't go into more detail about that, but that then triggered a whole other trauma response at a different level and more layers. And I kept pushing on, I think probably for another 3 years, continuing to work. And I was back in the workplace doing things, but I just always felt like I couldn't be me, that there was something different. And I kept hiding what was going on for myself and not dealing with my own trauma. So eventually I ended up taking a break, a complete break, closed down the business, walked away. And as awful as it sounded, it was this instant relief that, I don't have to be responsible for everyone anymore. And that shocked me. I was like, it was such a big part of my identity, who I was, what I did in the world. And I felt really lost. I went down a pretty dark path for a while. And then I thought, no, it cannot take years to heal from trauma. It just can't. I'm not accepting that that's how it is. And of course, the lessons in here were, well, why did you accept that your clients needed to take years to heal from their trauma? So I really took what I call a sabbatical, took some time out, actually stopped and dug really deep to see what worked, what things really worked with my clients, and what things were a little bit out of left field in the coaching field and the NLP field that I thought were helpful, that could get quicker results, and tested them out on myself. And yeah, here I am now. Definitely, there's still things that might trigger me, of course. Life happens. But I definitely feel as though the work that I've done and that I've shared with others in the world now has almost feels like it's changed my DNA. I got to things that were at such a subconscious level that I was not aware of, that were, transgenerational, passed on that I wasn't aware of. And I've broken those patterns. And now I honestly am thriving and teaching others how to do the same.
Thank you for sharing that. So in that journey, if you had to say a couple of simple things that could help someone get started in the healing journey of trauma?
Great question. For me, it was really about give yourself permission to pause. because we're in this society and this culture where we just push through, particularly as a health professional. It was almost like you can't show that real you. You have to keep that mask on and not be yourself. So, yeah, acknowledge that there's something going on. Give yourself permission to pause and don't be afraid to do the work. You really need to know yourself as best as possible, warts and all. Understand the shadow side and be prepared to do the work.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's so many lessons. Like, there's so many things I've learned that now I look at, it's awful as it was, the many layers to my trauma. There are so many gifts in that.
Yeah, no, you're bringing up a thought of a question that I want to ask you. And today I was just talking to a dear friend of mine who I love so deeply, and she was asking me for a hypnotherapy referral, and I gave her a couple, and I was like, this one changed my life. And she said, but is that the one that you were like suicidal while you were doing it? I'm like, yeah, but I feel like that comes with the territory of rediscovering memories that I hadn't thought about in decades. And in fact, even in hypnotherapy, these memories just come up, you speak them out. I remember this one particular session ending and me going, I can't believe I just told you that. I am mortified and embarrassed. And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying, I just can't believe that memory, didn't remember that it existed. I just can't believe I just told you that. And of course, my thought is when you're doing this work, you gotta like make a mess before you can clean it up. Am I wrong on that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a firm believer that yes, we've got to be prepared to go in and be in the messy middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we keep repressing it and hiding from it or ignoring it, we're really not getting to the heart of what's going on and allowing ourselves to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you've been through trauma, feeling is scary because it can be so intense and frightening. And like you said, you're not really sure what might come up.
Because you blocked that out to for self-preservation. And so I remember that moment. I couldn't believe that I remembered that, and I couldn't believe that I told someone, because even though I don't know how you feel about the word victim, but even though I was the victim in this situation, it still felt so shameful to me that happened to me. And you still take responsibility for it. Can you speak on that a little bit in terms of like victim versus survivor versus, can you tell me a little bit about all that?
Yeah, it's funny when you said the word victim, I go, oh, cringe, because
Because you don't like it. Yeah.
no, that's one word. That's a trigger for me. It's like, hang on, because we know when you go through something really painful and hurtful, you are a victim, especially if there's some sort of assault or something like that, then the reality is you're a victim. Something has happened to you without you having any sense of agency or control. However, for me, it's not about getting stuck in that victimhood, helplessness. It's always that tapping into that energy and that fire within, if possible, to not be the victim as though you have no control whatsoever. It's like, how can you take back some control? So whether it's facing your fears and really head on hitting that story and that memory, which is frightening, or what's one little thing I can do? And it's about just acknowledging what happened and who I am. So a lot of the work I do centers around identity, because how often when we're dealing with trauma do we hear people say, I just want to be who I used to be. I just want to go back to that. But we are never the person we used to be.
And isn't that beautiful?
And that's a wonderful thing. And, we see people fight so much. I just want to be that. I want to go back to that. You're not that person because you've got your new experiences, good or bad, but the lessons and the learnings and the teachings from that can help guide us to use those as our strengths. Because when you've been through something awful and have been in that situation of being a victim, there's also this power that you can tap into within, in your inner soul. It's the best way I can describe it, that can give you strength, where you can really explore the deepest part of you and look at what's one thing that you have that no one else has that you can tap into, because no one else is you.
That's beautiful. I almost wanted to just put the camera just on you, just like this. Oh no, that's just on me. Just like this. But I didn't want to scare you and take you. I forgot to warn you that sometimes I do that. So I might do that at a future moment during this episode. And I didn't go away. I'm just focusing on you and all the beautiful things that you're saying. So what's something that someone can do if they don't, but here's the thing. Do you find that people don't even realize that they're stuck in victim mode?
Yes.
They
Yeah,
don't.
I was
Yeah.
stuck there and I just knew that I didn't like it, didn't feel good. And often someone will ask us what's happened, and we tell our story, and we tell our story, and we can stay stuck in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And going over, and the way I was trained way back 35 years ago and in the specialized area of trauma was to have people go over and over their story.
Yeah.
What we now know is, and particularly in the nervous system regulation and body work and somatic work that I've done, every time we tell our story, we reignite those memories that are stuck within our body and within our nervous system. Even if they're not up here, our body holds on to every experience we've been through, and it might come out with an autoimmune disorder, a chronic health condition, chronic pain, aches and pains, gut issues.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually signs that something is out of whack in our body and we're not very good at listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I love in the trauma work that I do is that what I refer to and what's out there in the literature as the three brains. So we have the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. So the head brain is where we analyze, we go over and over and over things. It's where we relive what happened to us. We think about what could we have done differently? Who am I now? What's happened? All that, that story where you're stuck in that loop. And the heart brain is where we feel. We feel our emotions, but it's also how we connect to ourselves and to others. And then we have the gut brain, which has also got neurons. There's lots of research now that it is its own brain, in that it has neurons and it can sense things. And that's where we get that feeling and that intuition and that sense of who we are. That's where our values lie and that real sense of our identity. So when we go through trauma, at least one, usually two of our brains disconnect. The one that's still working is usually the cognitive head brain, because we're going over and over and over and over it, stuck in that loop, stuck in that story. And until we can reconnect the heart brain and the gut brain and have all three brains integrated and communicating, we can't really heal from trauma. So a really simple way, I can give you a really quick strategy if that will help your listeners. One thing I love doing is what we call the body scan. So we just close your eyes, not if you're driving, if you're listening to this.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it while you say it. Okay.
So just go through and just scan your body from the top of your head right down through your forehead, your cheeks, your jaw, right through your neck, your shoulders, go down through your chest, just scanning right through and just noticing anything, any sensation, any niggly feelings down your chest, right down through your abdomen, right through that gut area, Just notice anything that you feel, any sensations. Just notice. Don't worry about doing anything with it right now. Taking it right down through your pelvis, down your legs, your thighs, through your knees, your shins and calves, right down your ankles, right down to the tip of your toes. And just notice where you might have felt anything. And as you do that, just notice if there's a niggle, a sensation, a feeling. And if there is, just focus on that. And you can notice that it might have a shape, a colour, might be a symbol. Just notice that, focus on that, and just grow it a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then shrink it right down. Shrink it really little. And then we're going to move that around our body. I want you to move that around, take it right through, move it around, and just notice that it might be changing colour, it might be changing shape. And then just notice what it feels like, having it flow right through your body. And as you do that, notice what comes up for you. What are you thinking? And as you do that, focus on that and what are you feeling? And just tuning in to what it's trying to tell you is going on for you. And trust yourself. Just know that whatever you're feeling is totally okay. Whatever you're thinking, whatever's coming up for you is totally okay. And then just notice if that's changed at all, keeping it as small as you can, and noticing now you can get that beautiful, warm energy from outside coming right in through you, in through your heart space, with all those positive, might be golden, orange, pink, purple, whatever colour comes in, flowing through you, right through you, noticing that warm energy, and it embraces you right through, and it goes right through around that shape or that symbol and envelops it. And notice how good it feels now as that beautiful warmth wraps around that, and you can let that flow right through you with that calm, comfortable feeling coming through, and then move that on through you, noticing how it feels. And if there's any of those niggly feelings still, just let that flow and let it go. Let it flow out of you, separate from your body, and send it on its way. Yeah. So how was that for you?
It's great. I forgot we were recording a podcast. Then I thought, whoever's watching this live is
You were very calm into it.
That was
Yeah.
great.
So the whole idea, and we would go into it deeper if we were in a session, but it's more just noticing that it's that sense of agency. It's giving you that sense of agency, knowing that you can tune into your body, give yourself a few moments of pause and rest, see where you might be holding something. It might be tension, it could be anything, a little niggle. And then I grow it bigger, which again gives you that sense of you can be in control. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, and then we shrink it right down in case someone's going through something really uncomfortable. We shrink it down, and then we move it around. And by tapping into what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and what is important to you, that starts to reconnect our three brains and flow through. And then you can always send that negative energy out on its way. And some people will put it as if they're, in the ocean, and they anchor it and they drop the anchor, or they float up in a hot air balloon. Doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, whatever works for you. But the whole aim is it gives you that sense of you being in control, and you can regenerate and integrate the communication between the three brains.
Awesome. So, can you share with me an example of someone you've worked with in a manner such as the small, fragment of this exercise that we did, and what, obviously anonymously, what they were experiencing and what you helped them work through and how they felt whenever they were
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
complete? I
And
mean, you're never really complete, but you know what I mean.
yeah, so one of the things that you touched on before, which I probably should have spoken more at the time, but my mind wandered off on another tangent as usual, was around shame.
Mm,
When we go through some sort of trauma or adversity, there's usually a lot of shame and guilt. So there's a lot of those negative emotions, and we hide them a lot of the time. So there was one lady I worked with using my ABS method and really focused on the three brains and integrating them was a turning point for her, because what she had experienced all her life was shame. There was some childhood sexual assault and some issues within the family, and she'd carried this sense of everything was her fault, but being ashamed of that all her life. So we worked through that. She had this experience where we did like a meditation type thing, just a process that I took her through just like that. And she had this sense, this shame came up, and it was sitting there as this big spiky ball. And we moved it around within her, and she did that process. And then we had a conversation where she brought the little girl
mm,
in with her, as well as that shining light, and that little girl came and we had a conversation, and we moved that, and we reconnected her brain, her head, and her head, her heart, and her gut brain. And there was this huge shift, and she let that go and had the conversation and brought that little girl within her and thanked her, and went on the journey with her, and said that it shifted everything. For the first time in her life, she felt she'd let go of shame. It was huge, and that's how
that's beautiful.
transformational it can be. And then obviously we did more work going through the layers of the negative emotions. So anger, sadness, hurt, and then the shame and the guilt, and work through all those layers at a subconscious level using the process I do, which is a bit like, if people are trained in NLP, it's a bit like a timeline therapy on
Mhm,
steroids that I've developed, which I love, where you don't have to talk about your story.
mm,
That for me is the key. You don't have to go over and over and over it. You go in to a subconscious thing and you come back out and you let it go, and you use that body release process, and then use a nervous system regulation process called TRE, which I can send you a link to. There's a free component of a course which helps evoke tremoring in our body, which is the body's way of releasing softly and gently trauma responses that are stuck. So
yeah,
we can evoke a tremoring response and let our body shake, and that releases some trauma. So it's a blend of everything mixed in together, but it's so powerful, and it
yeah.
lets you live a lifetime of shame. And this lady still says, oh my God, I cannot believe I no longer carry shame. I don't take responsibility for people that are not mine to take responsibility for. And she's living her best life.
Hmm. I love that. So, who would be an example of an ideal client that you would love to help that way?
Yeah, for me, it's someone who's not experiencing intense PTSD,
Hmm.
because I can do work one-on-one, but I also do group work. And it's really important that you've done a fair bit of work, you've
Hmm.
done the therapy, but you're still feeling stuck. Like something's there and it's holding you back and you're not sure what it is. So
Hmm.
we get really clear, straight to the root cause, straight to the thing, release it, and then we move into the thriving
Hmm.
post-traumatic growth areas. So
Hmm.
it can be anyone who's been through trauma
Hmm.
or adversity, which, let's face it, a lot of people have now, because life happens. But someone who wants to become unstuck and live their best life
Hmm.
and knows that they're meant for more. And
Hmm.
particularly I love working with business owners, coaches, counselors to help them do this on themselves,
Yeah.
heal the healer, and
Yeah.
then forward with their clients, knowing they've walked the walk, because you've got the lived experience makes so much difference.
Awesome. So, what would you love to happen for you and your business, let's say, in the next 6 months that perhaps those listening can support you?
Thank you. For me, I have lots of big goals. Initially, I would have said I want to change the trauma landscape and teach people that you don't have to take years to heal from trauma and you can do it using my method. And then I think, lots of people are still, they need evidence, they need convincing, they want that really hard thing. And it's like, I don't want to keep working to convince people that this is the way. It's like, if you want to heal and you want to make a difference in the world, and I'm speaking to you and you think, yes, that makes sense to me, then I want to work with you. And ideally, I would be doing more, like using my podcast to have people on there. And I know I'm really excited that we're going to have you on my podcast soon,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that message out and helping people know that they can move forward after trauma, heal from trauma, live their best life, and they don't have to stay stuck, that there can be something after trauma. Then I want to be eventually certifying other people in my method so that we can change the trauma landscape. But I don't have the great vision of changing millions of lives anymore, because I can't do it by myself. Getting
Yeah.
others trained in my method so that they can have the ripple effect,
Yeah.
and making a difference to pay it forward for people who are ready to live their better life.
Awesome. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I hang out on Instagram, so that's
Yeah.
at Dr. Nat Green, and Facebook, because I'm still old school, at
Oh, yeah,
Dr.
me too.
Natalie Green.
I'm writing
And
those all down because we're going to add those to the show notes.
thank you. And my website's still a work in progress, and it's
But you know what? As a marketer, I always tell people don't even give them your website. So it's good. Social
yeah,
media is perfect. They can,
excellent.
yeah, yeah.
And growing tall poppies, and I have this really awesome guest coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And
And
if you are just listening, I was just winking. Um, and yeah, but I say that because often people will go to the website and then just get distracted and then never go
yeah,
back on it. But if you connect on social media, then you'll get that constant reminder. Websites are very important. In fact, we work with people to build them. But it's a great place to house all the information when somebody's ready to go. Okay, great. Thank you for being on the show. And as always, thanks to our sponsors, Black Oswald Coffee Company, the coffee company that not only makes delicious coffee, but also donates proceeds to organizations helping those in the mental health in journeys in regards to mental health. Any last words before we hop off, Dr. Nat Green?
I think one of the biggest things is, for me, it's invest in yourself, discover your worth, and shine brightly like the diamond that you are. Because we know that diamonds are formed through pressure and really challenging situations. But I firmly believe that all of us have the capacity to shine brightly if we give ourselves permission to do so. So thank you so much for having me. And I must say, I was very excited when you said your sponsor was a coffee company, because coffee, you're speaking
Yeah.
my language. I absolutely love. You'll find me near the beach drinking coffee most days.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a gift that you can go to the beach most days. I'll just give you that one. But yeah, and then a coffee company that donates proceeds to organizations that support those in the mental health journeys. That's so special to me. And they're a wonderful, wonderful business to work with. All right. Well, until next time, everyone, and be sure to find Dr. Nat Green on Instagram and Facebook. Bye.
Bye.